Two guys in a mic with our producer. Step into the spotlight, survivalist troopers. Come and take a seat with the combo we provide every Tuesday. It's the Blerd Survival Guide. Two guys in a mic with our producer. Step into the spotlight, survivalist troopers. Come and take a seat with the combo we provide every Tuesday. It's the Blerd Survival Guide.
What's a Blerd? That's a black guy who's also a nerd. Reading comics, watching anime. Haven't you heard? It's Jeremy, J, and Miriam talking to Delirium. Naruto, then Marvel, then DC. Are you hearing him? Pop culture reverends pull them out periodically. We sing of movies with the comics canonically, and we watch a lot of TV. It's our virtual reality. I guarantee one day we'll have a TV show on NBC.
Two guys in a mic with our producer. Step into the spotlight, survivalist troopers. Come and take a seat with the combo we provide every Tuesday. It's the Blerd Survival Guide. Two guys in a mic with our producer. Step into the spotlight, survivalist troopers. Come and take a seat with the combo we provide every Tuesday. It's the Blerd Survival Guide.
It's the Blerd Survival Guide. It's the Blerd Survival Guide.
Podcast live and in living color.
Woo!
Welcome back, everybody, to the
Welcome
Blerd
back.
Survival Guide 20th episode podcast, live and in living color.
Guys, we did it. It is 20 episodes in. For those who are on our live on Sunday, we appreciate you for being here with us. We are currently still live as we record the podcast, but we're also going to be releasing this episode on Tuesday like we normally do, just to give you guys a look at how we do things. We gave a background, behind-the-scenes look. Had a little Q&A session with a bunch of our listeners and viewers of the lives.
As well as some friends and collaborators that we've worked with in the past.
Yeah, and prayerfully we're going to work with them more in the future. We're going to have some more guests in the future as well. But we are here at number 20. We made it. Jay, I'm excited. I'm your co-host, Jeremy.
I'm your co-host, Jay.
And Jay, how are you doing today on the 20th podcast?
I'm excited to be here. It was a really rough week for me. So like this week, a lot of you all know that I started a job.
Yeah, I did post it on the Blerd Survival Guide.
Well,
Instagram.
folks, it took me 3 days to realize that this job was not a good fit for me, and
It
I
was
no
not.
longer work with the organization. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. However, I am excited because now I get the opportunity to spend more time working on the Blerd Survival Guide podcast. I get to spend more time working on my social work licensure, and I get to spend more time working on NASW Alabama. But I am so happy to be here with you on the 20th episode talking about what we're going to talk about today. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Miriam has a surprised look on her face. What happened?
Are we okay?
Yeah, no, we're good. It was just creepy because we just ordered tacos.
Right.
And your phone came up with an ad for the 5 best barbacoa tacos in Alabama.
See, that's what happens with Samsung.
They
and
be
Google.
listening!
Yeah.
Detail.
Yeah.
This is some NSA level stuff. I said I wanted barbacoa tacos.
Yeah, it's happened multiple times. By the way, Jay, I'm doing fantastic because this is the 20th episode. We are here. But quick little story time. John was looking up because he's moving out soon to California, and we were talking about that. I had my phone in the room with him. This is John talking. I haven't said a word about moving out, about apartments or anything. Okay. I'm in my room about an hour later. I'm just patrolling and scrolling through Facebook.
Oh, God.
All of a sudden, I see apartments in Fresno, California.
No!
I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, people. Like,
with no intentions on moving.
no, but
Anytime
because
soon.
my roommate John is like, yeah, we're looking at these apartments, in Fresno, California, because those words were spoken. My phone and Google
there's
and
a
Facebook.
way to turn off like that listening thing that they do.
I know, but
And I did it on my phone because like that's too accurate, bro. Like
People are
that's
still listening, though.
without a doubt. But like you can like
You don't have to
filter
see
it a
it.
bit more. I don't have to know that you listening.
You
Oh, I saw this thing on TikTok where they had someone's iPhone because like you've got the facial recognition to open your phone now.
Right.
You know that thing is taking a picture of your face like actively every 50 seconds or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like they put up like this thing that like captures the light that will show like that special light that's happening when they take the picture, and it just like kept flashing on the person. It was so much, man. Like that had me so shook. It had me so shook.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
You sent us on. You did send us on a little bit of a tangent there.
Hey, it will freak anybody out. I know. I got you.
I think that's completely reasonable.
Yeah.
Like not even 5 minutes.
No, you just made this order.
Yeah. But no, like you said, it's episode 20. We are in for a doozy of an episode. If you
We're covering
on
a lot of
lives,
topics today.
we are. If you were on our lives, you saw us go off the rails with all of our answers and just talking to each other and laughing with all of our listeners and viewers. And today we're just going to talk about stuff.
Jeremy's gonna sit here and act like it's not like we're talking about just random stuff. Things have happened in the world that we want to discuss, such as
The Loki finale just finished, as well as I saw the new Space Jam movie, Space Jam: A New Legacy, today.
and Miriam and I haven't had the opportunity to watch Space Jam, so we're gonna try and limit the spoilers.
Yeah.
But we're also gonna watch it immediately following the podcast recording today, so it's not like anything that Jeremy says is going to bother us that much because we're going to get to see it very shortly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we're going to talk about that, and then I'm going to talk about something because I've been going through challenges. I'm going to talk about the MCU and the mental health themes and such that are present. So, Jeremy,
I was going to say, I think we should make that the meat of the episode.
Yeah?
The mental health in MCU, and then I can use my weekly blurb for my half and half of the Loki finale,
I'm
as
fine
well as
with
the
that.
yeah. So
I'm fine with that.
So
like what so this week, obviously, like what's happened to me has challenged my mental health.
Of course,
I have found myself, questioning my profession, questioning like values that I bring to like the world and like whatnot. And I think that there's a lot of that happening in the MCU because changes are happening that are outside the control of the different characters that are present.
Right.
And we've gotten to really witness how they have addressed the challenges in their life. And I think like we've gotten a first-hand view of it through
through WandaVision, through Falcon and Winter Soldier, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and now Loki. Yeah.
Honestly, like it's really like inspirational for me.
It's eye-opening for me.
Because we've talked about how you and I have leaned on television and movies to serve as those points of contact where we're using them as coping mechanisms, right? Like we learn from them, we get lessons that are present, and like we lean on TV as a teacher,
as an escape,
as
a
teacher,
teacher,
all these things, right?
Parent figure.
Exactly.
I mean, like I said, things that we've discussed in previous episodes.
Exactly.
Like I said, like in WandaVision, I remember saying in one of our episodes when we talked about WandaVision that it came out essentially to be an escape, and I was giving that as a personal. I didn't say it in that podcast, but I was giving that as a personal anecdote. Was that it was an escape from everything that was going on in the world, and that's what that was. That's what I needed because
it came out during the pandemic, right?
It came out in January, and that's when the coup happened in Washington.
Right.
The pandemic was still at its height right before the vaccines really started.
Yep.
And it was one of the darkest times in history at that point.
Right.
And WandaVision came out, and it was just like, me personally, I was like, cool, I can watch this, have my mind on this, and not have to think about what's going on in my actual life.
Which is super freaking meta for the show, right? Like that's
because of the things that were happening in that show.
Well, that's exactly what Wanda Maximoff is going through. Like when we learn by watching the show, which if you haven't watched the show, you should, and you know that what she used to escape the trauma of Sokovia and like that stuff, and the experiments and everything were these classic television shows, which then becomes her coping mechanism for dealing with the death of Vision.
Yeah,
and I mean like that. So like we see, and I'm saying that because I really again find myself leaning on TV shows to deal with the coping that I'm having to go through as sources of guidance for like modeling, even because I'm watching these characters go through like these terribly traumatic events, and I'm seeing them exemplify like how they're like through like the characters like choices of action.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing them deal with like their different their shit.
Yeah, their shit, their
like,
struggles, their
exactly.
I mean, the come up and even in Loki, he's dealing with depression.
But I think,
the whole time.
without a doubt,
Yeah.
but I think like the one that I resonate the most with is in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, because Anthony Mackie is a mental health worker. He's someone that counsels veterans that have gone through PTSD, and then he's
trying to get back into a normal for themselves.
Exactly. And Captain Rogers, who at that time was counseling folks who were dealing with the snap.
Oh, yeah.
That were dealing with
an
Endgame. And I mean, I think that for me, that resonates with me in my profession because I do mental health work, and I'm like, okay, so do I need to go to therapy? Like after the crap that has happened to me has happened, and like, do I need to, maybe try and find someone that I can talk to about like the things that are troubling my brain,
right? That are just going on and going through
that I don't necessarily have the experience to overcome without suggested guidance,
right?
No,
I completely agree. For those who can't afford it, I definitely think they should. If you can't afford it, Jay, I feel like you should. Because there is a stigma that black people shouldn't go to therapy because you become a pariah within your own community for some people. But that stigma is slowly changing.
It is, and I think that like Captain America and the Winter Soldier or the Falcon and the Winter Soldier plays a role in that because like the destigmatization of therapy in the black community is so necessary,
right?
Because not everybody can just go to church.
No, and I mean, church can only go so far.
I completely
agree. only did so much.
For you,
yeah,
because I mean, church is enough for some people, right? Like some people like that is their
place
therapy
of therapy,
comfort,
that's
their safe space.
Yeah, and it was my safe space for a while until
it wasn't.
Change. Yeah. That's the safest way to put it.
Right. I mean, it can be like that, And so, like, I think what I'm really enjoying about the MCU right now is that we're getting a lot of coping models for dealing with trauma.
Oh, definitely.
Which, I mean, that's like a historical thing in Marvel and in comics, right? To address cultural challenges, and for us in our generation and our current culture and society, mental health is an overarching challenge.
Very much so.
And I mean, obviously in our parents' generation and in our grandparents' generation, mental health wasn't a active conversation because like a lot of people were like deemed kooks or weirdos for trying to talk about their feelings, right?
Like you weren't allowed to talk about your feelings, especially a black man.
No, exactly. It was definitely to feel your feelings as a black man in the 80s.
I don't even leading up to the 60s, 70s, 80s,
all those times,
90s,
early
2000s.
It was equated to not taking care of your family, which I'm sitting here like, how am I supposed to take care of my family, but I can't handle my own mental health?
Right. No.
But I guess not talking about it was deemed how it was handling, handling
pushing it down and not talking about it. Yeah, that was the only way you would be able to handle it, and you just couldn't. You couldn't talk about it.
Like
you weren't allowed to talk about it.
Conceal, don't feel.
Exactly. True.
Exactly.
True.
That's exactly it.
I mean, going back to the MCU, to the shows that have come out with the MCU TV shows, like I said, WandaVision was my escape from reality, just like how it was for Wanda. She needed to escape from reality.
Right.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, it put that reality in my face. It helped me and it helped me grasp the concept of what was going on in the world. Because I for one, don't like watching politics, listening to politics, knowing about. So I try to stay out of that because I'm not well versed in it, but I know just enough to pass.
You know that you have to care about it because it impacts your life.
Exactly, but I don't want to. I'm not one
That's
of those.
not your
that
field,
are like,
though.
Exactly, and so I don't try to stay in that field. But I'm happy that Falcon and Winter Soldier put it into terms that I was able to understand it. And
I hear you. I hear where you're coming from.
It helped me see how we live as a culture today, as opposed to how it was back when, like I said, like when Isaiah Bradley was
exactly.
And it's like he wasn't allowed to be Captain America because he was black, but now you have Sam Wilson, who is black, who is Captain America. It just shows how times have changed, but also the ramifications of being a black Captain America can affect a person.
Right.
And you kind of put that in real world terms. You have it was going back to Obama's legacy.
Yeah. Right.
You wouldn't back when my mom was around my age, you wouldn't see a black president. You wouldn't see anybody even attempt to touch being a black president. Shirley Chisholm tried when she was in the 80s.
But you can't think of like that.
But
the unfortunate thing is like that's not even like a taught piece of history in school.
No,
like you had to learn that because someone else knew it. Like
exactly.
It wasn't, and you happened to be in the right space for them to share it with you. It wasn't like it was like a common piece of knowledge. Much like that generational gap and that like lack of conversation created like a hellstorm for a lot of people and an entire generation that I am proud to say that our generation is actively fighting against.
Oh, definitely.
Through so many different mediums of conversation, like you're seeing it on podcasts. People talk about mental health nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
But you're also now seeing it in mainstream media, like television streaming content.
It's being put in front of you. Ease of access to see these things come to life. I mean, the generation that taught us literally told us to be the change, and now they're afraid that we're changing things.
It's always interesting to me when when adults really did preach to us that we need to be the change that we need to see in the world, and then when it comes time to bring it, they're always so resistant. They're always threatened by the change. And it's
like I said, it turned from be the change to why are you?
It's
changing?
freaking convenient, don't you think?
Oh yeah,
like it's so convenient for folks to like just see the change happening and be like, I don't know. But in reality, you told us that this is what you wanted us to do.
You told us. TV told us. Movies have told us.
Yeah.
That we need to change. That we need to rebel against the patriarchy, the monarchy, the powerful people.
We need to rebel.
We've had so many movie franchises: Harry Potter, Hunger Games. There was just like
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Family, that
teach us to rebel. Right?
Yeah, to teach us that being a rebel doesn't mean that you're on the wrong side of history.
That's the real shit.
And that dates all the way back to like 1975 with freaking Star Wars. Literally, the rebels, their names, were the good
fighting
guys.
against the Empire. You're right, to overthrow the Empire.
If you're on live, you see me wave my hands. I'm waving my hands for those who are listening. My God, it's just like we've had previous generations that want us to do these things, but then once we actually start to do them, it's just like, yo, what's going on? Why aren't you doing what we tell you? It's because, well, you gave us years and years and years of history and movies and pop culture of comic books
that shaped
movies,
us, that
TV.
formed us, and told us that we have to push against the authority.
Right. Yes, we still have the ever so often idiotic quote unquote TV shows
Without a doubt.
SpongeBob and things like that, and Fairly Odd Parents and stuff, and all those TV shows are just like are
pure entertainment.
Right. But then you have all the other shows like Avatar, The Last Airbender. You have and I can't even like Adventure Time, Steven Universe. All these shows that are like are fighting these big wars and our action sequences and are teaching our kids, and our future generations these valuable lessons of being the change. But then when you want us to do it, it's just like, why?
And I mean, that's the thing, man. And that's what happened at my job, right? Like that, like I got terminated because I was bringing up conversation points about the organization that they did not like. And these things were deemed as inappropriate to discuss, as I guess it was above my pay grade, so to speak, to try and like have these conversations.
I mean, and I know it's up to you if you want to say it on the podcast, but I know what you told me.
Right, and I mean, I don't have to give every detail.
Right, but what you told me, what they did to you was a crock of shit.
I mean,
straight up.
that's your opinion, and I appreciate your opinion.
Yeah.
And I mean, people are welcome to if people want to like contact me offline or direct message me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I got
people
you.
want to direct message me about that. I'm happy to talk about it more.
I'll leave that part out.
But no, I think that like when I lean on these superhero films or now like series on Disney Plus for the guidance, I'm right now. I've been drawn to Loki,
of course,
because thinking about how he changes so much, but manages to remain authentic. Like that's the thing, right? Like Loki is still Loki at the end of it, but he's even more Loki than he was, and he's a better Loki.
I'm saying he definitely changed for the better because of the adventure that he went on.
It's not like he is, like at the beginning of it, it's right after the New York sequence, and he's like killing people, right? Like, and just like
for the fun of it,
indiscriminately.
No matter who you are, what your age is,
and he's not even like considering it, like why he's doing it. But by the time we're done with it, yes, he may still be a killer, but at least he's rooted and grounded in his identity and why it's necessary for him to act the way that he acts. And like I think that it's a commentary on accepting yourself and accepting the things that you may not necessarily like the most about yourself, but still liking yourself at the end of the day because those things are a part of you.
Right, and I mean that was really
Loki. That's Loki as crap, man. Because like
that was the message as a whole. Is like Loki had to learn, and I mean they made it quite literally. Loki had to learn how to love himself. that was the whole point of the show. He finally did until the end, and we can talk about that on my weekly blurb. All that ramifications for the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse, as people are calling it.
Sure.
But yeah, that story as a whole, and I mean this is our main Loki too. Before the events of the Loki TV show, Loki has been battling depression since the first Thor movie. Our MCU Loki. He's been battling depression because he finds out he's adopted.
Yep.
He feels like he's not fully loved.
Yep.
He isn't shown full love from
he
his
never
family,
feels like he's living up to the expectations that
his father, quote unquote, wants him to be.
Right.
And he's battling that all throughout the whole Infinity Saga, up until Endgame.
Pretty much phase one, all of phase one.
Well, no, I mean the whole Infinity Saga, like I said before the Loki TV show, he's battling depression all the way up to Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
And
that's fair.
Up until that last conversation when they're in the elevator, right before they do the brother thing where he's being thrown by Thor. They literally that last series.
Oh yeah. What is it called?
Get help.
Get help.
Yeah. But no, that like I said, that last conversation, when Thor was just done with Loki.
Right.
It's like he said, "I never hated you. I've always loved you as a brother." And Loki, hearing that for the first time, finally felt validated as a family
member.
Yeah,
and that's the true burden of being Loki is like, and God, I resonate with Loki so much. It's like just trying to find your place in this world,
trying to find your glorious purpose.
And I mean, your boy over here, me. I was adopted by my grandparents. Like they raised me, and I mean, like I can resonate with Loki in the sense that like he was adopted, right? Like he was not raised by
the Frost Giants.
The Frost Giants. He wasn't raised by his parents. And I'm sitting here like, this man is really modeling for me what it's like to battle with your own demons and still try and be the best person you know how to be.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible journey for me to like observe, because like thinking about it now, like while we're talking about it, it's inspirational. It really is. Like it to watch him and to know what Loki was doing basically in the MCU verse like 5 years ago, like 12 years ago, to know where he is now. I mean, it's impactful to know that even Loki can change.
Right. Right. Period.
I mean, like it and to change for the better. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and it's what I love about backstory arcs. It's what I love about, especially when you get a backstory arc on like Cruella or, for a villain that we're seeing, because you see
why they are the way they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then like it informs, how they will begin to progress if they choose to.
I mean, and I forgot which movie or TV show or thing I read that quoted this, but no, the quote is literally every.
You do be reading a lot of things.
A lot, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's basically saying that every villain is a hero in their own story.
Right.
And that's essentially how all these villains, not just Loki, but all these villains, this is how they feel when they're doing the things they do as their respective villains in these respective movies. Being the antagonists, they think that they're doing, most of the time they think they're doing something for the better cause of
the world. Yeah.
And that's why they're doing it. And that's most villains in general.
It's interesting to assume best intent for a villain, because but that's very humanizing, right? Like,
right.
And that's the crazy thing. Is like,
that's what makes them human. Is that?
Well, and that's the weird thing about like what's new in present in movies and TV nowadays that wasn't present 20 years ago. People like 20 years ago, a villain was just a villain to be a villain, and
right.
It was never you never got no backstory information as to what led them to that point.
No, like my mother never loved me, or
I never got a hug from Daddy or Dad left.
Right.
But now we're really getting these humanizing elements to villainy. That's
why a lot of people like resonate with the villains.
Without a doubt. And I mean, like a villain. People should be able to relate to villains, because I think that like they draw out a particular characteristic of humanity that we all have
and we all relate to.
But like 20 years ago, it wasn't okay to relate to the villains. It wasn't
because they're bad for the sake of being bad. Now they're bad for the sake of,
and that's bad for your mental health, man. Yeah. Like it's bad to think that in these absolutes. That like there's just a good guy or just a bad guy.
Oh, nothing's in black and white anymore.
No, it's not. And like I mean, like TV shows like The Boys and Invincible, like they continue to allow us to live in a gray area when it comes to existence as humans and as people in society. And I think that like the sooner the world catches up to that, the better off we will be.
I think that's a valid point to end on.
I think so.
And as we always say, especially on episode 20, we can go on and on.
As always, we can go on and on.
But what we're going to do now is take a quick break from the podcast to hear a word from our sponsor, Anchor, and then we will be right back with the weekly blurb. We will be right back, guys.
Hey guys, it's Jeremy here to talk to you about Anchor, the free podcast tool that you all need. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, like I said, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or your phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So, guys, go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm on your computer to get started.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back. You know what time it is? It's time for the 20th.
Weekly blurb. I can
first?
I can go first.
It's your turn this week.
I can go first. So we've been racking our brains about what my weekly blurb is going to be, and it's going to be a little bit of a combo between the Emmy nominations that came out this week, as well as one of my favorite TV shows that has been nominated for an Emmy that is available on Apple TV Plus called Ted Lasso, starring Jason Sudeikis, who I often confuse with Ed Helms, but it's Jason Sudeikis.
I still don't see how, but continue.
I mean, it's just a personal thing that they act in a lot of similar type buddy comedies, very similar to like the style of the Happy Madison films. They're in a lot of those kinds of style of movies. And so like they're in We're the Millers together, and frankly whenever they're in like, and I think that's where my root like comes together for them is like Jason Sudeikis and Ed Helms are both in that movie, just playing like one's the antagonist, one's the protagonist in the film.
It's almost
like I always get them mixed up.
Maybe they're variants.
Maybe. I think it's possible. But if you all haven't gotten a chance to check out the nominations that came out, it is rife with a lot of our favorite streaming content, such as WandaVision, Hamilton, The Queen's Gambit, Shameless, Hacks, which is on HBO Max. If you haven't got,
still?
Apparently Shameless even has outstanding lead actor in a comedy series, William H. Macy for Shameless. He plays Frank. He's apparently Shameless is still relevant, which I find.
I mean, it's just finished.
But I tuned out at season 7 personally.
I got to season 9, maybe.
There you go. Yeah, I just couldn't deal with the Gallaghers and their mess like every single season. Got obviously things like This Is Us, Lovecraft Country, Bridgerton up for debate, as well as The Crown and a few others. But folks, if you haven't gotten a chance to check out Jason Sudeikis' Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus, if you have Apple TV Plus available to you, I highly recommend it. It comes at a time where we don't have a new Office type series. We don't have a new Parks and Rec type series available. And it really does a great job at filling the void with high energy, positivity, and team building. I think that it prioritizes all of those things in every single episode. Okay. Although it is based around a plot that you would not typically think might have all of those things. It's based in the plot is that Ted Lasso, a former American football coach, has been hired by a English Premier League football club, if you will, and asked to coach it. And obviously there are surrounding circumstances that lead Ted Lasso to travel across the pond and coach a soccer team of all things. Mm-hmm. And those are things that are within his life and outside of his life that are impacting the program unbeknownst to Ted Lasso. And so it's fun to see how the challenges that are occurring unbeknownst to Jason Sudeikis' character and also beknownst to him come to a head and end up creating a really awesome first season. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons why I think that this show got nominated for so many different things or so many different award choices. Let me finish scrolling. I mean, Jason Sudeikis was nominated for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. It's also shown up in an outstanding comedy series in general, as well as I think one other category. But folks, if you haven't gotten the opportunity to check it out, please do. It's on Apple TV Plus. We're guaranteed a second season. It's got not many well-known actors and actresses other than Jason Sudeikis featured in it, but they're all talented. They're all comical. They're also the ones that you want to love. You really do fall in love with them, and the ones that you hate and are annoying, you by the end of the first season, you see them grow, and that's always encouraging. And that's kind of the theme of the entire series is growth, because growth through adversity, growth through team building. And so when I feel low and I feel down, it's a show that I really recommend that will lift your spirits, because Jason Sudeikis brings this Southern charm to staunchy England, and it is endearing.
I will definitely consider it. I know you maybe promised 2 episodes. We will see.
Okay.
It's yeah.
But that's my weekly blurb. What about you, Jeremy? What you got?
So, we've made it. Episode 20 of Blerd Survival Guide.
Season finale of Loki.
It just passed.
And what a finale it was.
What a finale. My God. Of course, you always know the show came out on Wednesday. It is Sunday when we record the podcast. There is no episode coming up this week, but by the time this episode of Blerd Survival Guide comes out,
you should have watched the season finale of Loki.
Yes, or have caught up to a certain point. Spoilers ahead. I was calm this time. I didn't one breath it or anything. I had to make sure, because this, like I said, this finale was bonkers.
It's a roller coaster of emotion.
Man,
you're ready for good things to happen and bad things to happen, and you don't know where
or when it's going to happen.
Where or when that's going to happen the entire episode.
Especially in a show about time.
I know, right? Until the end. Like, right up until the very end, you're just like, well,
what's going to happen? But a quick synopsis of episode 6 of Loki. We are literally seconds after they finally enchanted the Alioth and are entering what is now known as Chronopolis, which is a fictional place from the comics. But it's a castle where the lead of the TVA and whoever has been behind the TVA has been this entire time. We get to it. We find out that Jonathan Majors, who you all know from Lovecraft Country as the main protagonist from there, is the man behind the curtain, if you will, the Willy Wonka, the wizard of this Oz and chocolate factory. And the episode, he essentially just carried the rest of this episode. He explains everything that has happened and will happen up until a certain point where they pass the threshold, and
he has no control or no.
He has no idea what's going on or what happened, and
he's just at the behest of
the timelines.
Loki and Sylvie.
Yep, and this show as a whole, it definitely was the one that set up the multiverse that we are all about to get ready to see.
Buddy.
Like I said, Jonathan Majors, he carried the hell out of this episode.
What's crazy is you really thought that the multiverse was happening when Sylvie sent all the bombs into the sacred.
Oh yeah, you thought that's when it was over. Yeah. Nah, it happened when Sylvie, like I said, spoilers, when Sylvie killed
Kane.
We don't know his name per se. All the writers and everyone says that it is Kang.
Because he's like in the scene, he's like, I've been a conqueror, a destroyer.
Yeah, he said, I've been called a destroyer, I've been called a conqueror, many things like that. That's what gives you the idea that he is Kang. Not even context. He's Kang, and because he's known, like the comics book accurate name is Kang the Conqueror. and Jonathan Majors, he's letting you know, like he's letting us the people know, as well as Sylvie and Loki, that he was a variant of Kang the Conqueror. He was actually the prime, the initial
Right.
Kang from the 31st century, who may or may not be Nathaniel Richards, who was a descendant of Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah, so this, like I said, this episode set up Fantastic Four, set up the multiverse, set up Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, set up Doctor Strange. It just set up probably Shang-Chi too with Abomination, because Abomination looks comic accurate, which means it may not be the same
Abomination from Incredible Hulk.
But also, like I said, this episode, it was. I keep saying that each episode was my favorite. This one was my absolute favorite, only because Jonathan Majors. I'm going to keep repeating myself. He carried this episode. His monologue throughout the entire episode, where you can see that he was a man that has been basically stuck in a cubicle for millions of years.
Yeah.
And it's finally, he's a broken man only because he's been trapped and having to keep the sacred timeline sacred. That has been his main job for eons and centuries and decades and years and years and years. And you can see that this man was on the cusp of breaking, of just going completely insane, until he finally found. He said it was supposed to be the one person that was supposed to take over his job. It turned out to be two.
But still one.
Yeah, but still one, because they all fought for it. And Loki, he finally, and we talked about it earlier in the episode that Loki was depressed and he had to deal with his depression. He finally got to a point where he was happy, and that happiness was betrayed once Sylvie pushed him through the time door.
Kisses him.
Yeah, they kissed.
I made an expression the second that I was like, oh, when I saw him kiss, I was like,
I was happy.
Well, it's about fucking time. Like, yeah. I was like, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. No, it was.
But I was like, oh, yeah, it happened.
And then she pushed him. I was like, oh,
right. Yeah. So sad, instantly sad for him.
It was sad, and then it gets even sadder when like you see him running through the TVA, and then you look up
and you realize.
Well, no, you don't look up. He's talking to.
As far as he knows, it's the
he's
regular
talking to
TVA.
Mobius. No, he's talking to Mobius and Agent B-15, and let him know that they released the monster. They released Kang, and he's about to destroy all these multiverses, and there's nothing we can do about it because the timeline is now free. Mobius, who we all know and knew every inch and personality trait of Loki from the get-go, turned around and was like, hey, are you an advisor? Because who are you? What's going on? Didn't know his
recognize
name.
him.
Yeah, that's how you knew something was up. And they were like, hey, we need to bring some people down here because this guy is going crazy. Turn around, we look up. It turns out that Kang the Conqueror is the
timekeeper.
Yeah,
is
he
what
is
it
the timekeeper.
like.
And the glass has shattered. We are in full multiverse mode now.
Just immediately,
that,
so quick.
Yeah, the theory is that Sylvie pushed him into a different timeline.
I mean, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and she might, and the thing is, like, she might not have even known that, like, she was pushing him into a different timeline.
She just thought he was pushing him back to the TVA.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we know where we're sending you, because they were beyond time, right? Like, so
exactly.
At that point,
I guess
like
the
time pads don't really like work the same. Maybe
they were still beyond time. It was just at this point in time, there was only one timeline that you could be pushed to,
right?
Even though it was still within and without time,
right?
Sorry about that if you hear that in the background. But because Sylvie created the multiverse by killing Kang, turns out that he kept it safe and had all of these other variants that were trying to break in.
Out.
Breaking in. Yeah, they're out now. And that just caused everything to kind of F up, and we're getting deep into stage 4 now.
It'll be very fascinating to see where the series goes.
Because we did get approved for season 2. You saw the end credit scene.
And I mean, it's going to be very integral to the multiverse of madness, as well as probably I guess at this point, phase 5 probably.
Yeah, phase 4, phase 5. I mean, it said there was a bunch of memes and TikToks that said Sylvie has set up the next 10 years of Marvel with her killing this version of Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
And so we will be
we'll be in for it. I I mean, we'll be in for a treat for the next decade of Marvel
we'll be able
films.
to share our kids will be able to see this and families. Yeah, but
the amount of money that they're just going to be ready for.
Yeah, but like I said, we appreciate you guys for listening. This was our 20th episode. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we look forward to bringing you these episodes each week. We're going to have some bigger and better stuff coming as the episodes progress.
Please like, follow, and share. We would love to hear about, your favorite films, your favorite TV streaming services, and limited series. Just give us some ideas for us to watch. But until then,
remember to follow us on all of our social media platforms, on Instagram at Blerd Survival Guide, on Twitter at Blerd Guide, on Facebook at Blerd Survival Guide, and you can even email us at blerdsurvivalguide@gmail.com. You can also follow us on our personal socials at JBear3295,
at JW02283,
and keep surviving, everybody. Listen to the theme song.
Two guys in the mic with our producer. Step into the spotlight, survivalist troopers. Come and take a seat with the combo we provide every Tuesday. It's the Blerd Survival Guide. Two guys in the mic with our producer. Step into the spotlight, survivalist troopers. Come and take a seat with the combo we provide every Tuesday. It's the Blerd Survival Guide.
It's the Blerd Survival Guide. It's the Blerd Survival Guide.